Another minivan for me. I know the last time I drove the Pacifica, I came away quite surprised. So when I got the opportunity to test drive another one, I couldn't say no. Welcome everybody then to the 2025 Kia Carnival. So, the Kia Carnival. Well, it's a very popular minivan in the North America and it has been updated for the 2025 model year. When you look at the Carnival from front, you'll instantly notice that this is the latest one because it has the amber DRLs, which is the same thing that they have incorporated in the Kia Sorento mid-size SUV as well. I think it's a fabulous looking front end. I think this is the best looking minivan on sale in the market today. You've got the huge tiger nose grille, which is now the Kia theme. You've got some bulges on the bonnet, this big headlight design with, again, as I said, the amber DRLs. You have a bit of cladding on the bottom part of the bumpers. You have some LED fog lights as well. It's very clean, very cool, and I think, as I said, it's the best looking minivan. In fact, if you don't look at the other proportions, you might just think it's some super cool futuristic sedan or crossover. You can actually put this front end on anything and it would look so good. So kudos to Kia for incorporating such a good look on the minivan body style. When you come to the side of the Carnival is again when you realize that this is a proper minivan, a proper 3-row, and it's very big. As you can see, the wheelbase is so long. But that's the USP of every minivan, right? And this one is no different. Not too many changes for the 2025 year on the side profile because they didn't have to make too many changes because the Carnival is already a pretty decent looking product from the side. You do have these updated wheels which again look pretty good. They have lots of cuts and creases, a very fancy design. But overall I'd say that again it doesn't have to be too crazy, and this is not the top of the line. This is the SX. There is a variant above this which is called the SX Plus, which is like the top of the line, fully loaded. So for being a mid variant, these wheels suffice and they are blacked out. So you can hardly tell what they look like, especially at night or when they're dirty, like they are right now, because you know the weather hasn't been the most favorable for us this week. But yeah, overall it looks really good. What I also like is this paint. So it's sort of this Nardo grey paint, which is again unseen on minivans, but otherwise I really like it and it hides dirt really well. I know it's kind of dirty right now on the side, but this is after driving a lot in heavy rain and some muddy terrain, and this is all I have. Otherwise any other car and any other paint would have been way more dirty. You do have gloss blacked out mirrors as well. You do have roof rails as well. Again, it's a minivan, so it has to be practical, and Kia has left no stone unturned. When you come to the rear of the updated Carnival, yes, they have implemented some updates, and this now has the uniform single tail light in the back. I think it looks pretty cool, and it's a design element that they are incorporating in a few more new modern Kias. In fact, the upcoming new K4 sedan also has this element. You do have the new Kia logo, the Carnival badging, and that's really it. You do have some cuts and creases and a lot of cladding on the bottom part of the bumper. You do have a mild spoiler as well, which also has a camera, which is for the inner center mirror. Just in case you have a car full of passengers and you can't use the mirrors, this camera is so useful. You do have a shark fin antenna as well on the roof, and overall it's a very clean design, very minimalistic, but it's not bad because I think it still merges really well with the side profile and the front. And also, this being a minivan, I can open the boot and you can get access to a huge tailgate. Once it opens, you'll notice that this has all the minivan benefits. So the loading lip is so low and you have such a huge boot, and this is with all 3 rows up, and this can easily take 2 big check-in suitcases, which is honestly such an amazing feat and makes me wonder why families love the minivan body style so much. I'm now inside the 2025 Kia Carnival. As you can see, now it has the whole Kia family interior look. It has the big curved screen which is now available on literally every other Kia now, and this also means it has carried on the one bad thing I feel about every new Kia, and that's the centralized control, where there's only one panel to either control your audio or your AC. I'm not a big fan of that, especially when you're driving, you want to change something. So suppose if
the menu is on the music, but I want to change my temperature. Then while I'm driving, I have to take my eyes off. I have to touch on something, and then I can control the AC, which I really don't like. I wish Kia can better integrate this into the future model. In fact, they are doing that in the EV9. So I'm not sure why all the other models are getting this single touch panel. I wish that they would go back to separating the audio and the AC controls. Barring that, everything else feels very nice, very premium. Everything you touch and feel feels very worthy of the price tag. In fact, it feels more than the price tag, which is what every Kia has been feeling of late. You have a lot of leather all over the dash, and especially this tan interior, which I really like. You can see the cross stitching and everything. The perforation just feels so good. You do also have a conventional gear lever, which I like. Many models abroad in the Carnival, especially the diesel variants, get the rotary knob gear lever. This one has a conventional one, which I really like. You do have two cup holders, a very big storage pad here, and a wireless charging pad as well. Two USB-C ports, and you have some more cubbies here as well. You do have some buttons over here in the silver aluminum finish as well. So this is for the heated seats, the cooled seats, the 360 camera, the heated windshield, and the auto hold and the drive modes as well. You do have the 3-spoke steering wheel, which is leather wrapped, and it is a mixture of gloss black and aluminum. All the buttons on it feel really good. So you do have the adaptive cruise, the seat track volume, all that stuff. So that feels very good. The displays are very crisp. So this uses the whole screen for Apple CarPlay, and this one is for the speedometer, the trip computer, and you can change the design of the dials as well. So the earlier person who was driving this car had it in the new design. However, I like the analog dial, so I had it changed, and I've been driving ever since with the digital analog dials. You have lots of gloss black on the door, and it feels very good. You do have amazing ambient lighting at night. I don't know if it's visible on camera, but right now you can see there's a faint red line through the dash and a small red pattern on the door as well, which feels very premium, feels very expensive. Again, all the switch gear feels very nice, and overall it's a very posh premium cabin. You do have the mirror as well, which also serves as a camera, just in case the car is full of people and this mirror becomes useless. You can flip it up to the camera version and you get a very clear view of the road. You do have sun visors and a very big mirror, honestly. But there's something I've noticed in lots of cars these days. Older cars, when you open the mirror, the light used to turn on itself, but nowadays cars have a switch, which is very weird, and I see this trend catching on very quickly. But yeah, otherwise it's very practical, very spacious, and honestly, if you're just sitting here, you can't tell that it's a minivan. You would probably just mistake it for any other very luxurious version of any Kia car.
Getting into the second row of the Carnival is really very easy. As you see, you have a big sliding door, a very low floor, which makes it very easy for adults and young kids to get in. You do have a grab handle as well, and you have an electric button to close the door. Now that I'm inside the second row, as you can see, space is really not an issue, and it really never is in any minivan. Headroom is not an issue, legroom is definitely not an issue. My knees are so far away, lots of space to tuck in my feet as well. You do have nets as well on both seats to store some stuff. You have USB ports in the seat as well to charge, and you do have a proper 3-point plug to charge even more appliances. You do have cup holders as well for the second row passengers, and the windows are so big. Being a mid variant, you do have manual blinds as well, which protects you from the sun, which is a very underrated feature. You do have AC vents as well, which the control is on that side of the roof, which you can control the temperature and the fan speed and whichever way you want the air to be flown. And this is the bench version of the Carnival, so which means there are 3 proper seats. On the higher SX Plus, you can opt for the full lounge seats. So it's only going to be 2 seats, but it's more like a business class feel, which is amazing. But this is going to be the more common variant to be sold among families, because let's be honest, this is the more utilitarian, and you can actually carry people with this setup. As I said, it has a flat floor, so the third passenger is very much welcome. 3 headrests, and the seats are pretty large as well on each side. The third row is also pretty big, but more on that later. And it's actually very nice, very practical, and honestly, it feels very nice to sit in the middle row. And you do sit higher up than the driver, so you do have a bit more of a clearer view of the road than you do as opposed sitting maybe to the passenger beside the driver. There's also one big benefit, and you can actually fold the middle row, and you can get additional cup holders on just like an armrest for the 2 passengers. If you have only 2 people sitting in the middle, you can opt for this setup as well. What's also cool in the Carnival is that you have a second sunroof as well. So yes, you do have one powered sunroof for the front, but then you do have another sunroof for the second row and the third row, which brings in a lot of light and definitely improves the whole ambience of the sitting experience in the middle. What can I say? Kia has been the king of practicality and packaging lots of cool features to make sure that any of their vehicles are so appropriate in the current market, and they've gone all out in the Carnival, because being a minivan though, this does not feel like one. In fact, it feels so nice, as maybe perhaps I would say the perfect family vehicle. I'm now in the third row of the Carnival. As you can see, I can fit in very comfortably, and this seat is much too far behind. This can easily be pushed a notch or two ahead, and it will generate even more legroom for me, while the second passenger would still be comfortable. So yeah, space is really not an issue. Two people can easily fit in the back. In fact, if you have kids, three can fit, because there's a middle headrest as well for the third row, which is really cool. Headroom is really not an issue. I can tuck in my feet. You do have USB-C charging ports, and you do have cup holders as well. Also, a party trick, there are blinds for many cars in the second row, but Kia has integrated a manual blind for the third row as well, which is just unheard of. Honestly, I've not seen in any three-row vehicle that there is manual blinds for the third row as well. So thoughtful, and it kind of shows why Kia is leading the features game in any segment that they enter. I'm now behind the wheel of the 2025 Kia Carnival, so let's get the numbers out of the way. This has the proven, trustworthy 3.5 litre naturally aspirated V6, produces about 270 odd horsepower, is only front wheel drive, and has the 8-speed dual clutch automatic transmission. So let's see how this minivan drives. I have it in drive, so if I set off, and you'll instantly notice that low end torque is crazy good on this minivan. I mean, that's what you need for a car this heavy, especially if you have this car loaded with family or luggage. You need that low end torque, and this car has it. It's very easy to potter around town, and you never really have to floor it in any capacity to make any sort of progress. Steering is also very light, so maneuvering in tight spaces or in parking lots is very easy. And I mean, I know this vehicle is very big, but it's not that cumbersome to drive. Honestly, I've faced a few more vehicles that perhaps are smaller than this, but feel much more cumbersome to drive. So kudos to Kia for somehow managing and packaging the suspension to make it feel like much smaller than it is, which is the biggest compliment any big vehicle can get. The ride is really good, especially that this mid variant has the smaller wheels, which means it has the thicker sidewalls. So the ride is exceptionally good. Honestly, it's so good. I'm on a very bad surface of road, and I can hardly feel anything. Nothing literally filters. The seats are so good. The comfort is so good. It's so plush that between the seats and the suspension, nothing really filters onto your back, which is amazing. And that translates onto the middle row and the third row as well in terms of comfort. Overall, what can I say? Kia has been of late killing it with every car they launch, and this revised Carnival is no different. It's so good, and it drives very un-minivan like. It's not floaty, it doesn't have crazy amount of body roll. It's really very manageable and very compliant on the roads, which I really like. Honestly, I did not expect this vehicle to drive so well, and it having so well-rounded driving abilities. It's actually very good. The brake pedal is very nice, so when you want to stop, or when you want to come to a stop from driving, the pedal feel isn't weird. And even when the car is fully loaded, which I had the car loaded at once or twice throughout the week, it did not feel unnatural or weird. So again, Kia has really manage the whole weight, the bulk of the vehicle really well. I'm on a very bad surface of road, but you really don't feel anything at all. It's so good. The fuel economy isn't so good, however, being a big engined 3.5 V6 in the city. I've been getting about 12.5 13 liters, which is again honestly really not that bad. But in this day and age, especially like something like the Pacifica has a plug-in hybrid, the Sienna has a hybrid. This is the only one that does not have a hybrid yet. However, Kia has already launched the hybrid in the US market, and the hybrid Carnival is slated to hit the Canadian market really soon as well. Otherwise, it's very nice, it's very punchy, and yeah, on the highways you can get up to 9 liters per 100, which is again respectable for a car of this size and weight. Overall, it's a really good vehicle to drive, not considering that it's a minivan or it's any preconceived notions you might have looking at the body style. As a vehicle, it's actually pretty good, and I did not expect to like it so much. Kudos to Kia for making the whole package work so well and making minivans so likable on a day-to-day basis for even say someone like me, who I would like to consider myself as an enthusiast. I don't mind driving this vehicle on a day-to-day basis if I have a big family. In conclusion then, the 2025 Kia Carnival. Honestly, the last time I drove a minivan, I came a bit confused because I do understand the practicality, but I didn't understand the driving dynamics too much. However, having driven this quite a lot over the week, I do feel like maybe that was particular to the Pacifica, because the Carnival overall as a vehicle is absolutely fantastic. It retains all the practicality that you'd ever want in a minivan, yet it drives so well. Honestly, I'm not a minivan person, but if I do ever have to drive one, and if I have a big family in, say, maybe in the next 10 or 15 years, and I have to buy a minivan, I'd probably just end up buying this because I feel like it combines the perfect blend of style, driving dynamics, practicality, and all the bells and whistles that you could ever ask for in a car. At around $54,000 for this SX trim, which is the mid variant, I think it's amazing value. I mean, there is a higher variant above this, and I think that goes up close to the 60,000 mark, but then you do get a bit more equipment for it. But this for 54, I think it's a lot of car for the money. Honestly, considering with car prices in the market today, and cars barely staying below the 50,000 mark, and if you can get something like this for 54, I think it's extremely value for money, and I can understand why Kia has been very successful with the Carnival.